who is co-chair of our technology committee. He is going to be teaching us today. Before we begin, I just have a few housekeeping announcements. Please keep yourself muted throughout the program. Put your camera on. You don't have to, but we'd love to see you. If you can do so, it definitely makes for a more interactive program for our instructors. We are recording this program. It will be sent to all members along with the document that Jim's going to be sharing while he speaks today. If you have a question for Jim about the topic, please put it into the chat. The chat box is on the bottom of your screen. If you hover your mouse down at the bottom, you'll see a chat box, and just put it in, and I will be asking Jim the questions at certain times when he stops for a break. Before we begin with Jim, though, it's my pleasure to introduce one of our affiliate members. As you know, we hope you use our affiliate members. They do sponsor BCAR events. They do help reduce the cost of membership. And today we're lucky to have Lindsay Musser, who's an affiliate member from Legacy Branding Gifts, and she has some valuable information to share. Thank you, Lindsay.
All right, awesome. Hi, everybody. How are you? Great. It's great to see some friendly faces. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just excited to be interacting with anybody after all these months of seclusion. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name's Lindsay Musser-Pacheco, and I'm a client retention specialist. And what that means is I help agents focus on using appreciation as a tool to create more repeat business. And if you've ever looked into the numbers, Forbes says that you can as much as double your profit by having as small as a 5% increase in client retention. Give a wave to the camera if you think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool opportunity, right? And you might have also noticed that it's easier to work with clients that already know and trust you than it is to go find new ones. So of course we need to do both as we need to grow, but client retention is a huge opportunity, especially because the NAR does a survey every year, and they find that about 82% of people say they love their real estate agent and say they would use them again and refer them. But can you guys guess? I'm just going to have you unmute yourself for a second and just throw out a number. What do you think the percentage of people is actually? I think somebody knows it. Yeah. Who can actually name their agent 2 years after the transaction? What did I hear?
5%.
5%. That's a good guess. It's a little higher. Donna put in the chat box 18. Any 15%. Other guesses? 15. Awesome. So you guys are all super close. It's 12% of people can name their agent 2 years after the transaction. And I think we all can think back to a time when we walked into Target or Whole Foods or whatever, we bumped into a client and they said, "Oh, my nephew just bought a house." And we were like, "Oh, I didn't," right? Now there's all kinds of ways to keep in touch with your clients. But one thing that my company looks at is just, hey, what if your closing gift could help with that? And one more interaction here. Can anybody just yell out, what are some typical gifts that are giving at the closing table? What are some common ones? Gifts you've seen given or gifts that you've given yourself.
Booze.
Yeah, Jim, that's a popular one, right? So I often get, there's a typical couple top answers. Gift cards, gift baskets, wine, or some kind of liquor, right? And I want to be clear that I'm not here to say that people don't appreciate or like those gifts. People like free booze and free money anytime, right? But the problem is that those are often consumable. So if they can eat it, drink it, spend it, it's not really doing anything for the client moving forward. And that's where a very popular company comes in. Give a wave to the camera if you've heard of or own, sorry, not if you've heard of, if you own Cutco. If you've ever been given a Cutco gift or you use our client, look at all the sexy, intelligent people on the call. I love it. So, and if you own Cutco, could you just real quick in the chat, throw some love in there. Maybe tell me how long you've owned Cutco, how long you've had your set for. For those of you who don't know Cutco, it's American made, yay, forever guaranteed. And what I'm going to do right here real quick is I'm going to take a penny and I'm going to take my Cutco shears and I'm going to cut this penny. If you've seen this before, you know this is awesome. Janet says, my Cutco was just part of the divorce agreement. That's awesome. Karen has had her set for 30 years. Donna loves her knife. Yeah. If you don't know what Cutco is, everybody loves it. They're like the Rolls Royce of kitchen cutlery. And here I am with my scissors, cutting the penny into a curlicue. That's really cool. So they have a forever guarantee. So what does that have to do with real estate? Guess what? If we can just engrave your logo, name, and number there, it takes money that you're already spending on a closing gift and it turns it into a tool for top of mind awareness. Also, you can save money on your taxes. How does that work? The IRS typically lets you write off only $25 for a closing gift. Because this is engraved, you can count as marketing or advertising, so you can write off the whole amount. If you're going to spend money on a closing gift anyway, might as well get the whole write-off. And our gifts are priced anywhere from $65 on up. I would say the average person spends between $100 and $250, depending on the price of the house. I do give a specific quote to each person because every business is different. I see some past customers on here. Hi, Jane. Hi, Janet. So what I'm going to just leave you with is that in the end, what we can do for you that I think is the most exciting is help you create a system rather than running around the night before or the day of the closing and trying to remember, does my client drink? Can I give them alcohol? Are they allergic to peanuts, chocolate, gluten? What's their favorite color again? Most people just get a year's supply or a half a year's supply of Cutco. The great thing is that every single one of your clients, 100% of your clients actually do eat. So in the end of the day, you can give them something to cut their food with and they'll all use it. And when you order your Cutco, your little batch of supply, you can actually split your payments over as many as 6 months. So you don't have to pay up front the way you do for most marketing. We can split it with no interest and no finance fees over as many as 6 months. I don't know about you guys, but I like just quick ways to get in touch with people. So what I'm going to have you do is open your cell phone, open the messaging app. And if you want more information than what I already gave, just text your name and your email to this number. I'll put it in the chat box too, but if you have your phone open, you can text your name and your email address to 267-361-0050 and just put a star next to your name if you have a closing coming up in the next 30 to 60 days. If you text me, I'll get back to you with a little bit more information. And for everyone who orders, I will personally buy you up to $100 in Cutco to keep for yourself. So one more time, just text 267-361-0050 with your name and email, star next to your name if you've got a closing coming up quickly. We also obviously do holiday gifts and our deadline is coming up for that. Let me know. Whatever happens today, remember today is the day you met the sharpest girl you know, and I'll hand it over to Jim.
Thank you, Lindsay. We appreciate your support and thank you for the great information. And now, Jim, you are on for Docusign. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Lindsay. Much appreciated. That's some great stuff there from Cutco. So I am Jim Olivieri. I'm going to guide you through some Docusign do's and don'ts and tips and tricks. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. And let's get it started up here. Give me 1 second to minimize everybody's beautiful face. All right, so hopefully you have this Docusign Mastery cheat sheet. If not, Siobhan is going to send it out after the meeting. So what I'm going to do is break it down. We have 4 different sections on here. I'm going to break it down and then we're going to take questions after each section. So this way it'll give us some time to digest it. And if there's anything that you would like me to go over during that particular section, I will be more than happy to do so. Also, I'm going to be doing it interactive with Zip Forms and Docusign hand in hand. So if there's something that needs to be done in real time or you would like to see, just let me know. So to start off, and I know it seems real, primitive, but to go over some of the Docusign terms, let me make this a little bit bigger here. So inside Docusign, there's some terms just to get to know so you can understand the basics. And they're listed here on the left-hand side. So in Docusign, your envelope, that's the email that is sent out from the platform, contains your docs, recipients, the workflow, Docusign fields, and more. Your templates are a reusable envelope. These are great for saving time and energy. This is one of my favorite things to do is have my templates in place. I even do it with my consultation calls and whatnot. So this way it's always there. I don't have to think about it. A recipient, easy. It's a person receiving that envelope. A static document in Docusign, it's the same layout and data for all recipients. So on application forms, lease agreements. So this you can fill in your brokerage name, your telephone numbers, things that are always going to be exactly the same, so you don't have to constantly re-enter that into the system. A dynamic document is the same layout, but different data for all recipients. So employment contracts, they have it here, NDAs and whatnot. Auto place, it's a feature that allows you to automatically position any field when, and it's very useful with the dynamic document templates. And then of course the admin settings. So you should have settings. I know if you're using this in conjunction with your brokerage, it might be a little bit different as to what you are not and allowed to use and set up. So there is a settings tab in there, which you can use for your timestamps and a whole host of other things too. So as I switch over and go to the live interactive portion with the system, are there any questions just on the terminology or anything to begin, or at least if there's any early questions in the box?
Nope. We do not have any questions yet.
Beautiful. So this is my zip forms here. This is my test zip forms. How I get here and then go into Docusign. I think this is very important to know as well. So you can have a separate login to get to Docusign. So I can log in independent of my zip forms. And this is where I can see a few quick view points of interest. Right from zip forms, which I'm sure you're used to, once you click on a transaction, you can go to your e-sign, and it's going to take you through the steps to create that e-signature packet. As I go through, and I'm just doing this to get to zip forms, whichever forms that I would like, my signing service is Docusign. When I get to step 3, it'll make sure that I'm now inside zip forms and I can add those signatures, those check boxes and whatnot, if it's not already a templated form. So, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time with the standard forms, initials, date signed and whatnot. So let me just go back for a second here and add myself as a signer. Once I'm inside my add signatures, which is the 3rd step in the zip forms, I can easily scroll around, and if there's something that needs to be signed or input, I can use my standard fields on the left side. So we all know how to use this, set it up for signatures. Again, if it's a templated form, you'll see most of these things will be set up for you automatically. The one thing that I use it in conjunction with are forms that are coming outside of the platform. So for instance, if I have a seller net sheet, a buyer estimated closing cost, or something that I want to upload as a PDF, once you upload it, I always have either initials or something that I can just easily signify and turn around and put right into the document itself. And then you can delete it with just a simple click of the button once I highlight it to delete. The other thing that I'll get into as well is the copy and paste. Copy and paste saves my life, saves so much time. So the one thing is for seller's disclosures or contracts that are given to you by your co-op agents, I always despise putting in the initials and the dates you have to do on every single page. So one quick way around that, if you highlight both initial and your date signed or whatever it is that you need on each page, and all I did was hold down my shift key after I highlighted, so this way I can highlight both. I can copy. I'm on a Mac, so it's Command C. And then I can scroll down and I'll be able to have that set right there at the bottom of the page. So I go really small print, so that way I can kind of just fire it off. And this is where it just automatically goes to where the seller's disclosure is, because that's how much of a pain in the butt it is. But that's one tip for the standard fields of how to quickly add initials, date signs that are required on a bunch of pages. So before I go too far ahead, I wanted to pop back over to the cheat sheet. So For the admin settings and best practices, there's 6 set up here. So let's just look through them. From your home page, you can click on your settings, set your time zone. Real important when it comes to contracts to have it on there with the dates and your proper time zone. I don't need to explain why for that. Again, if you're hooked up with your brokerage, it might already have your brand linked up. So this way your clients get to see that and your brand's colors. You can also add your photo in there as well, which I have. It'll give you the recommended ideal email logo size. You can create your own theme as well. The third tip is to create users and groups. So you can create a group from the groups menu inside. You can create certain users inside and assign them into a group. And you want to make sure you at least have 2 admin users there to run everything. How we improve signing and the sending experience. And this, I think, is the biggest trouble for some people is because, and one of the questions is about how do I get the cursor to stop moving on the BFI for fields that are not required to be signed? Because to be honest, most clients, if they get the documents, they just hit start and they just start firing off on required signatures, not the things that you want them to look at and are optional. So it'll have an editable menu that you can enable in there. You can create custom email and language for each recipient. This way, when it's sent over to your client, to warn them, hey, make sure you pay attention to the inspections paragraph to elect and or waive, either or, not just to completely bypass it and sign everything. And you can automatically replicate information in fields with the same data label on all documents. 5th, you can enable comments. So you can communicate right with your client straight from the comments menu. If you want to allow comments, there's a way to disable that as well. The one thing that I've had a couple agents use, the expirations. So there's reminders and expirations inside zip forms and Docusign. So this way, if a packet has an expiration on it, you kind of create that sense of urgency for a client. You can tell them, hey, this packet's set to expire such a date and time. Please make sure you take a look at it today. And if you don't have the app on your phone for Docusign, I recommend getting it because I definitely fire off a lot of reminder emails to my clients to say, hey, let's keep this on the top of your inbox. Let's take a look. Let's sign things. Let's go over everything. So those are the admin settings best practices. And let's take a beat just to see if anything came in. Lisa, anything in the box, or does anybody have any questions if they want to unmute themselves?
No questions in the box at this point.
Okay, perfect. So the one question that I had was about how do I get it to stop jumping around the cursor at the bottom of the screen? And since it's in conjunction with the admin set best practices, that's a little difficult just because I said it's optional fields versus required. So the way to do that is to make sure you're communicating with clients inside the message to let them know that, hey, there's something here you need to pay attention to and not just randomly click all over the place. So when I'm in my Docusign prompt set up here, this is zip form facing. So once I'm back at my 3rd step, underneath actions, you can see you can edit messages, you can edit recipients, you can even edit the documents. There's some advanced options and some shortcut keys in there. So if I were to send this out, I usually name the package, whatever the street address is, and maybe their last name. And then here is where I can communicate to let them know, and it'll be popped up right with their email. Please note pages 7 and 8 of the contract. You'll be electing or waiving your inspections. Make sure you don't just skip right over these. They're not required, but you'll have to do one or the other. And this is one section that I feel like with the BFI always comes back blank because, like I said, clients just tend to have an itchy, clicky finger and they just fire off signatures just by clicking. So this is your best bet against that because unfortunately, if it's not a required field, they can skip over completely. So the only workaround is that communication when you message all recipients to let them know that they need to pay attention to that. And going right down, so I can edit the message, edit my recipient straight from here as well. So if I wanted to add certain recipients, if I needed to add another buyer in there, and from the drop-down menu, I can have needs to sign, it's an in-person signing. I want them to receive a copy, which tends to work well with transaction coordinators or anybody on your team that also needs a copy without having to sign off on the document. Just needs to view, or you can specify certain recipients in here as well. Now, just as easily as you can add them, you can delete them. You can also shuffle around so you can set your signing order. So this is where I can just easily drag and drop if there's more than one, and it disappears completely because that's how it works. There we go. 1, 2, 3. So you can do it either adding the numbers in there or just dragging each recipient above or below where you want them to be. And this is a quick fix that you can do. Say you have a packet that's already sent out for signature. I had one yesterday, and they said, can you make my wife buyer number 1? And I found out they added a signer, and I needed to hurry up and delete the one signer and reset the signing order. So when I'm on the road, I can easily go through the app. It allows the same functionality here as the site. And you can just easily delete one, reroute the signing order. When you hit done on your phone, it'll have everything in, set, ready to go. And then you can resend it straight from your app or on the site here. I know that can somewhat get confusing. So if there's any questions, let me know there. And let's get rid of this. And we're all missing contact information. So there we go. So going down, the last one of the most important of these three, these 5, are the edit documents. So when I'm inside, I can upload a document from my computer. I can use a template from the zip forms or Docusign library. I can get it from the iCloud if you're storing documents there as well. And you can easily from here, delete your docs, view certain ones. You have more options as well to download, rename them, view the document and whatnot. So it allows for a lot of versatility and easy hands-on experience, especially if you have the app on your phone and you don't want to do it if you're not close nearby to your laptop or your computer. So going back to the cheat sheet. All right, so we touched on the terms, we did our settings, wanted to go over how to create a template. And again, some brokerages might already have templates set up. They might encourage you to use the Docusign rooms. It all depends. If you don't have it set up, it's very simple to set up templates. Let me actually do it as we have it here. So from the templates page, you'll see I'll be able to do a new template. So I can create, or I can upload one if one's already done for me from my company. And this will have you upload any document you like. So I'm going to pop into zip forms just to give you an idea of some templates in the test one here. So here's some that have been modified recently. So I want to show you, for instance, PA, if I had my PA listing. So I can create different folders. I usually have it broken down into steps for agents to follow. So in the very beginning, if they have their seller consultation and I want to add documents into here, and obviously it's not going to be in the forms library, so I can add certain documents from my company. And if I go to the, I think I have some under purchase. Buyer questionnaires, this is the New Jersey purchase template here. Some timelines, the complete home buying experience, anything that I want clients to see. And when I sit down with them and have a counseling or consultation, I don't have to go fetch it from other places. It's already inside my zip forms, which can easily be sent out for e-signature or even just as a packet to view inside Docusign. You see, I'll have them broken down into agency. So let me go back to PA since that's more relevant. Inside agency, you can line up all your forms again. With your brokerages, they might already have this as required, certain documents and placeholders. So if you want to have your consumer notice, your buyer agency contracts, anything that you want during that stage to easily these you can grab from the form libraries. So the beautiful thing about our membership is PAR syncs up with Docusign, and all of these libraries are contained right inside your zip forms. So if I go through and I start adding the documents I want in each folder, they'll be there when I apply that template to that specific client. And if there's other outside documents that you want or that your brokerage requires, you have a PDF, you can upload the PDFs. The only thing is it won't have that interactive, those fields already required. So you would have to go into, when you're in zip forms, in Docusign rather, you'll have to go in and prep that form for signature or fill in the blanks with text. So any questions at the moment for templates or anything that we've covered? Lisa, I don't think there's anything in the chat box.
There's a couple now, like, let's see. Okay, somebody said, thank you, knowing they can copy the initials and date together for the disclosure has changed my life.
That one's always a hit, because it's like the copy and paste function. It's just, I didn't realize it until years into it. And I'm like, there has to be an easier way. And I think I just played around to do copy and paste. And when it did it, it was like the light bulb went off. I'm like, okay, I'm going to save years off my life now.
And then there's another question. Are forms within a template always automatically updated when PAR updates a form?
They are. So that's another beautiful thing. Users that use .loop, you have to do that yourself or send it in to the company so that they can make it interactive. So the beautiful thing is, once anything changes at the state level, NAR or PAR, all the forms are automatically updated here for you. So you don't have to make sure you're using the most updated form. It's going to be automatically inserted into the form library. That's a great question.
And then somebody said, I don't think I have the ability to set up templates.
In that, I would just check with your brokerage, your broker, your branch manager, your office manager for the time being. Because it should be pretty simple to do if you have that setting, if you have the ability, rather. So just get with your office manager or your broker to see if you can set up templates. Because as you can see right here on my template screen, I can just easily pop off new templates in a couple clicks. And I can name it anything I choose, and then just give it the category. And then I have the option to either auto apply that to all new transactions, to new purchase transactions. So it's paying attention, which is great. Automatically apply this template to all new transactions, or do not automatically update this. So just double check with the brokerage about that.
And that is it for the questions right now.
Okay, perfect. So back into Docusign here, since we did the templates. Let me go home. So just to go over the quick views, then I'm going to jump back to the cheat sheet. The action required, that's if you need to sign something. That means you have the action that is required to do. So if you need to sign something, view something, it'll all be listed underneath here. And you see, you can pop in and go back to, you can filter it by who sent it, how many months behind was it, the last 12 months, 6 months. It's nice to be able to filter that through, especially when you're digging through paperwork. So that's the action required. The waiting for others is one of my favorites. You can see, let's see, well, all mine are gone because this is the test one. If I had a bunch on the list of packets that were waiting for others, it would appear here. And actually, let me send one out so we can see it. So I'm going to create an agency doc. I'm going to pop in the e-sign. I usually put the last name. One of my other little tips here, this is your e-signature packet name. I always revise and edit that. I copy it. This way, when I go to the message, the email is going to have the same name, and I'll show you how to do that. It's just copy and paste. All right, so now I'm linked up inside Docusign. only during this. All right, so let's pop out. Let me take a beat for, this is the zip forms. If I wanted to add parties, this is how you auto-populate all this information. Add it once and you never have to add it again. So when I'm in my documents, and I'll click on the buyer agency contract, and you just go back and make me the buyer here. There you go. Now it's set up. When I click on my e-sign, I'll copy this, choose myself for the signature, and let's see if it gives us the same prompt. There you go, it's logging into Docusign. And if I send this out, so I'll be able to see that it pops back into my waiting for others now. Here we go. Okay. So here's kind of the hub of Docusign. The beautiful thing is this is where you can delete them, which I know somebody asked as well. How can I delete a packet that has or has not been sent? So right here under Manage in your Docusign on the site, you can have this mobility on the app too. Once you highlight or select, you can move it, you can resend that reminder, and you can break it down to either void the whole packet, delete it, or export it as a CSV. So if I wanted to remind myself, I could resend right from here. It would be resent to me and I'd have a notification at the top of my mailbox. This way, I know that my client has that and it's top of mind. Since this was made out to me, I can sign it straight from the site, or I can also correct it from here. This is another important feature because I can correct the whole package. So if there's a document that I missed, if there's a signer that needed to be added, if there's a signer that needed to be removed, anything you need, you can do easily without deleting the whole package. So there's a way to fix it before you completely delete or void the package. So since that was an important one about deleting it here, we saw this, I can just delete that easily. I'll be notified, they'll be notified. Another good function on the site here, I can download this entire packet right to my desktop if I needed PDFs to share, if I wanted to do it that way, or upload somewhere else. I can do it broken down between all files, which includes 6 documents inside there and 1 certificate of completion. Or you can combine them all into PDFs, which some agents love, so they don't have to go digging and opening up all other kinds of PDFs. So you can combine them all into one and just scroll through. So popping back into the mastery sheet, we know how to make templates. If you don't, just check with your broker, your manager to see how you can create them. This way you have everything there one time, and you can even set up your automatic fields. So for instance, just to pop back in here, under my templates, if I have contracts that always go out that are the same, and this is the static and dynamic portion of it, I know it's always going to be from my company, and I know it's always going to be my name and then the brokerage info here. So if I enter that information here, it'll automatically be on every single form that you apply that template to. So you don't have to go back in and constantly re-enter that information. So we know how to create templates. We know how to add certain fields. If it's dynamic, you can use the auto place function as well too. It'll populate the information. We know how to add the recipients. mess up the signing order, change the email subjects and messages there as well. And this form's great to keep handy in case you're working through Docusign and we're not on the call and you have the little paragraphs to know, okay, how do I use my templates for each types of documents there? Now, just for the visibility, I'm going to skip over this because it's a little bit different for each Docusign and brokerage. So just to go over a little bit of the fields and what they're capable of doing inside Docusign. So the signature fields, you have two of them there. The signature allows the recipient to add the signature to the doc. Initials, same thing. You get to add the initials. The automated fields, which is real important and it works very well on a lot of other different documents that you might have to upload. Your date signed, the name, so you can just, instead of using a text box, you can put the name of whoever the signer is on certain lines there. The email, their email address is assigned to its recipient. And the good thing is, as it mentions here too, they can't be edited or backdated, which is perfect for contracts. Your company can automatically be pre-filled with those fields inside the contract that can be edited manually. Title as well. So the title of the recipient can be edited there. Your buyers, your sellers, everything like that. To go over some more of the standard fields, you can enter text box into the fields, into the documents as well. So that's for the recipient to enter some text. The BFI, you'll have all those fields already entered for you, which is another great thing about all the forms being uploaded as they're revised new. They're all made interactive immediately. So this way you don't have to go in and add new text boxes or check boxes or anything like that. But you do have the checkbox function. So if you need to have something checked off, there's drop-down menu inside there as well. So it helps your clients make a selection from a list of options in the menu. The radio function, which I haven't used myself personally too often, when they need to make a single choice between multiple options there. And this one you're not going to see for the payment item. A few of the other things that I do use, drawing for, you can do even strike throughs, cross out lines and whatnot. The formula field allows you to calculate amounts or dates. Attachments, you can upload attachments to envelopes, picture their ID, and it says the more information you add to a document that does not need to appear on the completed document, it's one way or the other, you can at least upload the attachment into the envelope there. So, and I always use the approve function, which leaves a visible mark on there, but it isn't a signature field. This way, if I want my client to look at how much they're going to pay a month for a house, I can leave that right next to the estimated monthly payment, not so much if I don't want a signature or an initial there. There's a decline function too inside the envelope, and it's automatically voided when it's put in there. So I tend to shy away from that one as well. And then to show you what they look like, so when we're inside, which we've seen already, those are on the left-hand side of the forms once you get to that third step in zip forms, and it'll spit you right through to Docusign. So are there any questions for the standard forms or for how do I remove any of these? How do I add them or the functionality of them? Anything in the chat box, Lisa?
Yeah, we do have a couple.
Sure.
How do you do housing with an LLC with 2 people? And how do you fix a specific document, for example, AOS dates and numbers without having to resign the waived elected part? That's from the same person, that one question.
Okay, so the first question was the housing LLC. Could I have you unmute yourself and ask that one, just to elaborate?
I typo, so sorry. How do you do Docusign? You're in the, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Docusign with an LLC, I've done that, and the recipient, the person wanted both names next to the LLC, and they never received it in Docusign, but they were adamant about having both their names next to the LLC. And I know where you were the person one signing and person two, but the person one really is the LLC, and got me all confused, and I ended up driving it over there at 6 in the morning instead. So it just wasn't working. I don't know any tricks.
Did you have any luck with the signing representative box underneath of the top client information? So this could be used for any individuals signing on behalf of an entity or a trust. So if it's a certain name, say that second name you needed added onto there, you can include their information here, and then it should appear side by side with the top information as well, if it was whatever the entity was or the trust. So that could be your best bet. And that was a feature that they added more recently, because it never used to have that. But now they have the signing representative box underneath the parties there. So when you click on your parties and you click on your buyer, your seller, whoever it needs to be, everyone will have this functionality right underneath. So I think that's your workaround from getting up early and having to drive over there like the
6
days
in the
of
morning.
yesteryear. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the second part of your question, was there a second one?
Well, when I've done initially the agreement of sale, then they say, no, this is wrong, or we want to change that. I end up going back, and I can't, I always have to do the little cut and paste with the elected and waived part of the agreement of sale. It's never you can fill it in and just correct it. Is there a way around that? Do you understand? I know I didn't explain that right, but in my head, it sounded right.
Is it when you're talking about the inspections paragraphs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then the problem is
there.
That right here. So what's the problem? They're not signing, or you need to enter the initials into there again?
Yeah. So it's basically having to redo the agreement of sale till perfection over and over and over again. And 4:30 in the morning comes and my eyes are closing. And I just didn't know if there's a way to do that without, I mean, I knew what they wanted to waive, but I can't do it. They have to sign it.
Right. What I've had agents in the past do is when they're inside Docusign, and if they can locate the document and they can go in and add the initials into it there. And then let me show you how to do do you know how to do required? Like if you wanted to add an initial into something to make it required, let me pop in here for a second. Let's just make it this. And let's go to e-sign. So I think the way around it is, again, it's tricky just with electing or waiving. Like you said, you don't want to do that for your clients. So it's a matter of, if you speak with them and they're having trouble with it, aside from running over and having them sign it, if they know the inspections they wish to elect and or waive, there is a way to do that for them, so you don't have to drive it over there. So give me 1 second to just pop it up. It only does this when you teach a class. It never does this any other time. So when you're inside, it'll give you those, you know, the standard fields on the left-hand side. There's a couple that you can, when you add them onto your document, and it gives you the options on the right to make it a required field. So hopefully this pops in and I can show you, but of course it's not doing that. So I'll follow up with you, and maybe we can hash this out over a call too, so I can help you out with that and show you what it looks like to do those required fields and how to fix it so you don't have to redo everything all over again.
We have another question.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we have another question. Is there a way to delete old envelopes without others being notified?
So when I'm inside Docusign, and if I go to void or delete, so you want to know if just not to have the notifications I don't know if they allow you to not notify, but let me see if it might be a feature in the settings tab that I can set up to not notify. Let me see. Recipient notifications. So inside here, you have the sending notifications and the recipient notifications. I'm not sure if it allows the other person not to see it when you delete a packet, or is there a way, who asked the question? Could you unmute yourself just so I can ask you something?
Yep, hi.
Hi, Joan. So is it that your client, they get the notification that a packet's been deleted?
That's very old. Something that never really came to be.
Okay. If that's the case,
email notifications for something that's 2 years old, just because I'm cleaning up.
Sure.
Okay.
Normally, if it's under you're waiting for others or you're expiring soon, when you can go in and delete them, I'm not too certain that if it's older, I don't know if it has a time stamp, but if you go to delete them, it shouldn't notify for the older email packets or for the older packets as well. So I would say either that, or if you set the expiration, it'll expire naturally and it won't send out the notification.
Okay,
So,
it's a great idea. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. One of those two ways I would say, but normally I've never deleted something, right? I know that I delete it because it sends me notification, but I'm not sure if my clients know that.
Okay.
I don't know if it sends them something. You're welcome.
Couple more questions, if that's okay, Jim.
Sure.
Regarding editing, how can you edit, cross something out in Docusign? Do you need to use a PDF editor or can it be done within Docusign?
So inside Docusign, and I'm going to try this again here, since it's been giving me login failures, there is a way to make a strike through and cross things out. Of course, just be careful what you're crossing out on contracts and check with your broker and your manager first. But there is a way to do it. Now I'm afraid. It's one of the standard fields on the left side. You'll see if this will kick over for me. There you go. So you have different tools over here. Under the pre-fill tools, there's a line. You can actually cross things out. Again, I shouldn't be doing this in Jersey. This is, deadly. But that's how you can cross out certain things, add initials to it. This way your clients can see the change, initial, date it. That would be the best way, aside from doing an addendum or a new contract or what have you. But that's the easiest way to do it inside Docusign. And then you can just easily delete them too.
And one final question from Mary Hall. Can you share the answer to Dawn's question with me as well, please? That was
which was the how do
I fix a specific document, like agreement of sale dates and numbers? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that absolutely, I'll get with Dawn and Mary so we can go over that too. And so I understand the question better.
And that's it for questions right now.
Okay, perfect. So the last thing I wanted to touch on, and it just follows down through the quick views because we actually are through with the mastery cheat sheet. When you have your completed documents and you can go down and you still have the same ability that you do with the action requireds, the waiting for others, I can delete certain ones, I can move them to other folders. But again, I think the best thing is that you can print them straight from Docusign here if you don't go through zip forms or want to take the extra clicks that they tell you to. You can print it straight through here, share it, combine them all into one PDF to be able to send it around. But the app has its own great features, but the desktop site is where, if I'm near my laptop, I would rather be here so that I can delete them, I can resend, send the reminders out, and do certain things a lot easier through the site rather than on the app. So if you're down with the quick views and you can see everything, the action required, waiting for others, expiring soon, anything that's on the line there, you have the capability to edit everything straight from here and kind of move it all around. So this is where you want to spend a little bit of time getting a little bit more knowledge inside the site. So this is your separate login from going through the Zip Forms way. And this really helps to be able to see what documents you have in your quick views. You can upload certain things and it gets started right from here. You can send even envelopes from here. So it's really great, the ability to be able to have this in addition with Zip Forms, and you're having all the forms pull from all the libraries, but it does stand alone on its own as well. So that's, I know I didn't touch DocuSign Rooms because I think that might be a whole class unto itself. So if we have any other questions or anything else, here, I'll stay on a couple more minutes, but that's the presentation for the rooms, for the DocuSign signature. Yes.
There's another question. If a client has a hyphenated last name, there's a couple more questions actually. If a client has a hyphenated last name, how do you get both initials to show when they DocuSign?
Okay, let me stick on that for a second here. So when I'm in the parties, and if I had married Lisa and we became Olivieri Ginsburg, and we want the initials to show all three initials on the documents, I believe that might be a client-facing issue. And what I mean by that is when the client gets the email to set up their signature, it'll ask them before they adopt a signature, how do you want your initials to look? How do you want your signature to look? And it'll have on there all three initials if it's hyphenated, or two. So I think it's up to them when they see that, because you just get to put the initial field on the form. And then when they get their email, it'll ask them how do they want to initial or sign, and they can adopt the signature that has all three initials. I think that's the best bet, because there's no way inside DocuSign other than putting the initial field on the form. And I don't know if you already did that and it didn't work. If it didn't, let me know. I'd love to know so I can figure that out too.
We have another question. When sending a packet originally, DocuSign already has the highlighted areas for you. If that contract doesn't end with you getting the property and you have to do another packet for a different property, how do I get rid of the original packet so it will auto-populate on its own?
Okay. So you have a packet populated, sent out, you didn't get that. So you want to remove that packet from DocuSign so that the next packet, it'll have all the fields interactive and you can edit them. I think that's the question there. Just to double check, do you know who asked the question? Can they pop on and unmute themselves for a sec?
Yeah, I did. And it's sometimes I have a problem if I go back in to put a new address in because we've found another property, whatever, and go to send it over to DocuSign, and none of those are there then. None of those auto-populated areas are there then.
So on the forms, there's no more auto-populated?
Yeah, when I send it over to DocuSign.
Ah, okay. And specifically, is there one document that, is it like the agreement of sale, or is it?
No, it's all of the documents, like any of the documents that already auto-populate the first time around.
Yeah.
Because in this particular environment, we're having to do sometimes 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 new agreement of sales because we're not getting the properties. So every time I go to do it, then I have to physically go and put them all in instead of having it auto-populate like it did the very first time.
What I would recommend there, I'm with you. I've done that before too, where I'll have a loop or a transaction that says, 6, offer number 6, because 1 through 5 failed. Yeah. In that case, it might be best to just start a new transaction with that buyer, and you can just have it so that the status could have been fell through or what have you, or just delete that altogether and then just start new. So your templates are fresh and you can just add the parties' names again, and then all that information should populate into those fields again, because that is strange. It should always allow you to just redo the information and have it auto-populate. So if that's giving you trouble, I would say do a new transaction and just start clean.
Okay. All right. I mean, because the other thing is that there's like an archive packet. Can I not maybe get rid of the archive packet and then it will work? I don't know. I didn't try it, but
yeah, I mean, I've never had to do that because every time I'll just fill in the information and it tends to be there for me. But I would try the archive, because if you archive it and you really need it, it just sits there in the folder, so you can drag it back into the transaction if need be. So I would try that first. If this way you don't want to do a whole new transaction, throw it into archive, or delete the document. For instance, if it's, I know these are Jersey docs, I should have the PA one up. If it's your agreement of sale, just delete it from here. Like for instance, this is commercial property information. Try deleting it and then just going right back into the forms library and adding it back in.
Yeah, I did try that, and it still didn't work well on when I did that either. And it was pulling the address from the previous house into the second one that I did, which is a real pain.
So, okay, so how about this? This might be the issue. The transaction details. So when you edit here to make sure the address is proper, but if it's not there, are you familiar with the MLS Connect?
No, I don't think so.
So this could be the reason. So if you have the MLS number for any property, you put it in here. Ready? And let me do this. Let's see. I'm just going to do a quick and dirty. Oh, Zillow. Oof. Just kidding. They're a brokerage. Okay. So if I'm going to find my MLS number, I could have went to Bright, but it's just a lot more buttons. You know the MLS ID, you pop it in here, you can hit find. Now it's going to repopulate all that information for you. When you hit save, it's now going to replace everything. It'll ask you first. It says, do you want to replace existing data with what you're about to import? So if I hit yes, now everything will be updated.
Okay. And where was that again? I'm sorry.
So no problem. So it's actually right here on the top banner,
the
right
MLS
next
Connect.
to e-sign,
okay.
MLS Connect. It's in
Wonderful.
a few different.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's in a few different spots too, but that one's the most visual. It's right up top all the time for you.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And we have one more question, and bringing us to the top of the hour. How to share document from the agreement and let them fill personnel info. That's from Jean.
Gotcha. Okay, so Jean, so how to allow them to fill in their personal information on a document. So sorry to keep making people unmute themselves, but I just want to understand it fully. Jean, you mind asking that question out loud?
Let's say you have a lease agreement and some kind of information which client wants to put in, and I don't want to waste my time for that. I let them do that. And okay. I want to share this document to let them fill information.
So if you're sending over, say, a residential lease, so you mean maybe some of this information, the mailing address and such? Is that what you mean? Some of this information up top, maybe?
Yeah, and number of people, what their asset and what, so they need to put all information about themselves.
Right. So the only real way to work around that, if you don't add it up front under your parties, when you go into Docusign and you have to add those text boxes in there, that might be more cumbersome than even just getting the information. But when you're inside, and let me see if this will work for me again.
No, when I send through e-sign, I don't have a text box, but I am allowed to put information. So I need to ask them every question. I don't want to do that. I want them to fill information.
Okay. So if there's certain spots that you want them to fill out the information, you can pop in the text box here.
Oh, it's going to takes so much time.
Right. That's
not the way I want it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the way you want it, I hope it's possible for you. I'm not sure. You know, the only way it might be if you get the information up front, how many people are on the lease and whatnot. Aside from just manually doing it, I don't know how to make that easier for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, we had this problem with buyers' financial information before. Now it's all text fields are filled in, so they could put some information, but for lease, it's still not working properly.
Right. Okay. So maybe that's something, if I speak to anybody from Docusign and ask the question, because I know it was happening with the BFI a lot, like you mentioned, I'll see if there's any workaround for the lease document or even anything that they're working on. So stay tuned. Hopefully there is something to make your life easier.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is it for questions.
Okay.
Just double check. Okay. Yep, that is it. And thank you so much, Jim. We really appreciate your time and your expertise. And we hope to see you soon for another event.
Absolutely.
More coming in, but they're all saying thank you. Everybody's saying thank you. So yeah, we really appreciate this. And remember, everyone, this has been recorded. It will be sent out to everyone along with the DocuSign cheat sheet that Siobhan already put into the chat box. So, definitely take a look at it again. And thank you so much again.